If I was a tournament director, I would do anything for her to be at my tournament. Daria Saville reacts to Eala's crowd draw at Abu Dhabi Open. Former Australian number 1 Daria Saville reacted to the public turnout that Alex Eala attracted at the Abu Dhabi Open. The Russian-born Australian player is currently off the tour due to her pregnancy, although she has followed closely what is happening on the tour and even made appearances during the past Australian Open on television broadcasts. Meanwhile, the action continues on the WTA Tour, and the most relevant event of the week is undoubtedly the WTA 500 Abu Dhabi Open, which brought together 5 top 20 players, led by defending champion Belinda Bencic, along with names like Katerina Alexandrova, Clara Tauson, and Ludmila Samsonova. However, the player who has stolen the most attention is the Filipino Alex Eala, 20 years old and currently world number 45, who is making her debut in the tournament after receiving a wild card. The former US Open Junior champion debuted with an important victory over Zeynep Sonmez, 6-4, 6-3, and advanced. In the second round, she will face Alexandra Sasnovich this Wednesday in pursuit of her spot in the quarterfinals. As is customary in Eala's matches, the Filipino public filled the stadium to see who is already the best tennis player in the history of the Philippines, a country that has previously had no representatives at the highest level. At 20 years old, Eala has made history as the first Filipino to beat top 10 players, former Grand Slam champions, and to break into the top 100, even reaching the top 50 in recent weeks. Alexandra Eala is selling out stadiums. Eala has become one of the most exciting names on the tennis tour, and Filipino fans have made her feel as if she is playing at home in most of the stadiums where she competes. One of the biggest sensations on the WTA Tour, both for her youth, talent, and charisma, something that Australian Saville highlighted, as she was surprised by the attention her colleague generates. Alexandra Eala is selling out stadiums whether she's playing singles or doubles, commented the Australian in a video on her social media. Tournaments where the fan attendance wasn't that high in previous years. If I was a tournament director, I would do anything for her to be at my tournament. Eala is also competing in the doubles draw, where she teamed up with Indonesian Janice Tien, forming a fully Asian duo, and they defeated in their debut a pair of experienced doubles players, former doubles number 1 Kristina Mladenovic along with former Roland Garros doubles runner-up Leylah Fernandez. Eala and Tien secured the victory in a third-set tiebreak in a full stadium. I'd also make sure that she's on schedule every day, singles and doubles, Daria Saville added on social media. Because then people come to watch Alex and then stay for more tennis. But yeah, you can see it in the crowd numbers whether Alex is playing or not. The Filipinos are showing up for their girl, and I love it. The 31-year-old player will have her first child in March with her husband Luke Saville, and made her last appearances at the 2025 US Open, being defeated in the first round by Jule Niemeyer, 0-6, 2-6. According to Saville herself, she played both Wimbledon and the US Open while being pregnant without knowing it, making these her last 2 tournaments played, both in the qualifiers. Her last official main draw match dates back to the French Open at the end of May, when after winning in qualifying she faced, in the first round, the 2025 Australian Open champion Madison Keys. Saville, a former world number 21, hopes to return to the courts after her pregnancy. If I was a tournament director, Daria Saville, Alexandra Eala, and the gravity of a crowd. There are moments in tennis when the scoreline feels like a footnote and the crowd becomes the headline. Abu Dhabi, with its sun-washed courts and polished hospitality, is no stranger to spectacle, but at the Abu Dhabi Open, something subtler hummed beneath the rallies. It wasn't just the thwack of the ball or the choreography of feet on hard court. It was the sound of a crowd leaning forward at once, drawn by a player whose presence seemed to bend the air around her. Alexandra Eala walked on court and the stands responded like they'd been waiting all day for her. If I was a tournament director, Daria Saville joked, I would do anything for her to be at my tournament. It landed as a quip, but it rang like a thesis. Because tournaments are ecosystems. They survive on ticket sales and broadcast deals, yes, but they breathe through people. Through the moments that ripple across social media before the handshake at the net has even finished. through the faces in the stands that light up not because a star ranking has arrived, but because a story has. Eala has that gravity. It's not only about her game, though that lefty swing, the balance between patience and nerve, the sense that she's always thinking one move ahead, helps. It's the way her presence invites attention without demanding it. The way she steps onto court carrying the promise of something unfolding. Fans don't just watch her, they participate. They feel like witnesses. Saville, a veteran of the tour with a gift for reading the temperature of a room, recognized it instantly. She's been on enough courts to know when applause is polite and when it's personal, when cheers are routine and when they're charged. Eala's draw in Abu Dhabi wasn't accidental, it was organic. It grew from junior triumphs that felt like beginnings, from a narrative of ambition and work ethic that fans could latch onto, from the sheer novelty of watching a young player announce herself with sincerity rather than swagger. This is where the tournament director fantasy comes in. If you were the one holding the clipboard, the scheduling power, the wild cards, what would you do for that electricity? You'd build your day around it. You'd place her match where the sun hits just right and the cameras linger a second longer. You'd imagine the queue at the gates, the buzz at the concession stands, the chatter that floats across the grounds like pollen. You'd think less about seeds and more about stories. Saville's comment works because it's honest. Players know the difference between hype and heat. They can feel when a crowd is present versus when it's alive. And in Abu Dhabi, Eala didn't just fill seats, she filled a space in the tournament's imagination. There's a generosity to Saville's reaction, too. In a sport that often frames youth as a threat, she framed it as a gift. Anything for her to be here, she said, not because Eala makes the draw easier or the headlines louder, but because she makes the event better. More human. More watchable. More memorable. That's the secret tournament director's chase. Not just excellence, but connection. We like to pretend tennis is a meritocracy of numbers, rankings, percentages, margins, but crowds don't chant for spreadsheets. They show up for feeling. They come for the sense that something meaningful might happen in front of them, something they can later say they were part of. Eala offers that possibility, and Saville, standing on the other side of the net and the timeline, tipped her hat to it. In Abu Dhabi, the stands didn't care that the story was still being written. They didn't need a finished chapter. They were content to read it line by line, to watch a player grow into the role the crowd had already imagined for her.